So when we look at the chart and you look at the G center, the diamond in the middle of the chart, and you look at the will center, which is the little triangle to the bottom right of the G, those two centers split in the late 1700s. So they're fairly new centers. They split from the heart chakra into the G and the will. And the way I kind of like to think about it is that the G is sort of where we store the code for the potential for your higher purpose, or the potential of your higher purpose in the context of the big human story. So all of the traits, all of the essential drivers that move us towards the fulfillment of our potential live in the G center. The will center is where our personal self lives, or our personal heart lives. So that personal self is ultimately, and that bridge is demonstrated through the channel 2551, which is the little channel that connects the tiny triangle to the diamond. That bridge is the bridge where we sort of cross that bridge and we use our personal self, and we are designed to use our personal story, who we are, in service to the whole. So the ego, the will, is the place where we translate our personal story into value. And as we are coming up to the end of a global cycle that has had in front of us, I mean, we've been in a cycle where our whole job as human beings has been to explore the theme of value and values. And sort of emerging in this conversation, we've had the economic model of capitalism show up on the scene. We've had other variations or opposite variations, communism as well. We've had a whole bunch of experimentation, because that's how we learn about value and what does value mean, and how do we translate value on the material plane, and how do we value ourselves. And I certainly would say that our sense of value, our sense of self-worth, is really kind of in the frying pan of evolution right now. This is, to me, I believe, the most important thing we all need to heal and resolve if we're going to build a sustainable world, because sustainability lives in this will center. The will center, and we all, and this is true for you, whether you have it defined or open, the only difference between definition and openness around this is that if you have an open will, you can't push through depletion cycles the way you can if you have a defined will. So if you have a defined will, you're designed to use that willpower to push through depletion, and in the shadow, push yourself into ultimate huge burnout. If you have an open will, you can't push through burnout, but either way, we both get burned out. That will center dictates that part of our human story means that we have to rest, we have to renew, we have to regenerate ourselves so that we emerge into the world, not just with our cups full, but with our cups full to overflowing. Because we're not actually designed to give from a full cup, which is the mantra we keep hearing people say. You have to have a full cup to give. I would say, no, you don't. You have to have more than that, because if you're giving from a full cup, as soon as you give, you're depleted. You want to be giving from an overflowing cup and to share from your saucer, which means you have to be sustainable. And I'm saying be deliberately, because this is part of where our identity lives. We have to be sustainable, and we have to act sustainably. And that means, first and foremost, the way in which we be and act in the world has to reflect our own sense of value. And if we're not living from our own sense of value, that means we're being driven to try to prove our value. And if we try to prove our value, the side sisters of trying to prove your value are comparison. So we fail to then achieve our own right place and take up our own right space in the world, because we're too busy comparing ourselves to others and oftentimes devaluing ourselves in the face of what we perceive other people doing. Number two, the second side sister, if you will, of trying to prove your value is competition. We don't embody enoughness, because we think we are not enough, we live or create from a place of not enoughness, and that creates the third side sister of lack of value, scarcity. And so when we create a world that's rooted in a divorce from our own unique sense of value and our right place in the world, which is really actually, if we're embodying that story on a personal level, that's trauma. There's trauma associated with that. We have to start protecting our identity to keep it from being killed, right? It's a micro trauma. If we're not fully occupying our value, then we're devolving to scarcity, competition, and comparison. And our creativity then can't be fulfilled, because instead of fulfilling our natural right place in the world, we're creating what we think the world wants from us as a way of demonstrating our value. If you want to use your will center correctly and have access to that energy that does give us an opportunity to express our unique purpose in the world through service, through creating sustainably, you have to first heal your sense of value. And if you have a healed sense of value, if you're standing strong in your own value, you'll know how to take action in a way that A, sustains that value, and B, allows you to see other people's values, and C, lets you take your right place and create from your right place and not have all those other weird, secret, hidden agendas that come from struggling to prove our value.